Hello, everyone. I thought I would talk to you today about one of the major themes in the book that I'm currently writing. Um, in my book, The Ecstasy and the Ignominy, you have this industrial town that that is very frustrated by the fact that their employers, their capitalist employers, are very oppressive. Greedy. They don't care about the plight of the common man and all of that. And this town is somewhat isolated, and so they make the decision, and based on the opinions of this philosopher named Bertrand Shaw and this reverend named Hartstone and many other people to basically have a revolution, to rebel against their oppressors. And it's not that the capitalist people haven't done anything wrong. They have, but then the people take it a bit too far, and then they start they take over the town. They start executing, the business owners. Sometimes not just the business owners, but their wives as well, and they want to execute their children and many other things. And it all spirals out of control, even to the point where the the one of the people who try to stop the revolution can't stop them, and they turn on them, and so one of the major themes, though, of this book that I'm writing, though, is that majority rule isn't always right. In fact, quite often it isn't, which shows you the limitations of democracy. This idea that because most people are not, let's be honest, well informed or rational. It's simply not the case, and people operate far more by emotion, by logic. Now, us, it's human nature, to when people say, well, the majority of people, I don't think anybody actually believes, for example, that majority opinion is always right, or that means it's the right thing to do. Because a lot of people, if the majority happen to agree with them on an opinion that they have, or at least the perceived majority, and they'll say, well, the majority of people agree with me on this, but they won't appeal to that if they have an opinion that the majority disagrees with. They'll say, well, I don't care what the majority thinks, I'm right, and so people don't actually think that the majority opinion is always right, only if the majority happens to agree with them, or the perceived majority. And because then ultimately, if the majority opinion was always right, then then such atrocities in the past, such as slavery and the Holocaust and many other things, would be justified, because the majority at one time thought that those things were right, and people and they were only overcome because of a vocal minority. And so majority rule is fine to a certain point until it starts to infringe on the rights of the minority, and at that point, the majority rule can become tyrannical, because ultimately, in order to establish any kind of human right, you can't have majority rule. Human rights have to exist in a transcendental category that is beyond human opinion, and because otherwise everything just becomes socially, culturally relative. And even if you appeal to something like evolution, well, the trouble is that evolution is just a struggle, a hard struggle for survival. There is no, and yes, may have developed certain empathetic instincts because of evolution, but we've also developed some pretty cruel and tribalistic instincts as well. And ultimately, there's nothing, in evolution that would make the human being intrinsically valuable. For example, if our value is solely, because that would be speciesism, this idea that we value that we have more value than other species, or, like, for example, if an alien race came down and they wanted to kill the human race in order to, let's say, in order to, let's say, so they could use the Earth's resources. Well, if we are to them, what ants are to us, then there would be no reason why they shouldn't, unless there's something, unless our value comes from, again, a transcendental category that is beyond material categories. Um, And so, no, I think majority rule can be quite dangerous for all the reasons that I've listed. You know, it was during the French Revolution, which this book is heavily inspired by, and I hope to demonstrate that um, in the book in the book that I'm currently writing.